He didn't stretch, didn't bother with warm-ups, just stood there at the edge of the mat, barefoot, looking almost out of place in a plain black t-shirt, and those white GI pants, no belt, no logos, nothing flashy, nothing to say he belonged. A couple of teens snickered. A judge gave a skeptical frown. Someone nearby whispered, "Is he even a real competitor?" But nobody there, not the reigning champion, not the crowd, not even the head referee, could have guessed that this quiet, unassuming man once guarded the tomb of the unknown soldier. And before that, well, he belonged to a unit so classified, the Army still won't talk about it. He hadn't come to win medals. He'd come to keep a promise. The gym buzzed with nervous energy shouts bouncing off high school walls, sneakers squeaking, the slap of feet on mats. Parents in folding chairs muttered about breakfast. Competitors in crisp white uniforms paced and stretched. Coaches barked orders, and judges prepared their scorecards, the air thick with anticipation. Just another Saturday in North Carolina, or so it seemed. Nobody paid attention when the man entered quietly, shoulders squared, every step deliberate. He handed over his Edithan Carter division. Adult men's advanced, then sat on a bench against the wall, silent, back straight, hands folded. He watched everything, not like a nervous fighter, but with that alert stillness you only see in soldiers who know how to wait. Up in the bleachers, a man in his 50s took a slow sip of coffee, watching Ethan with a flicker of recognition. The posture, he knew it. Last year, on a trip to Arlington, he'd watched a tomb guard stand silent in the rain for hours, unmoving, unblinking, the picture of discipline. He leaned over to his friend, voice low, "I know that face." But back on the mats, the matches went on, aims called, points scored, fighters coming and going, some freezing under pressure, others roaring with triumph or frustration. All the while, Ethan just sat, unbothered by the stares or the quiet laughter from younger men pointing at his bare waist. He finally stood when called, moving with that calm, effortless precision that made people stop and notice. First match, Ethan Carter versus Miguel Ortega, a brash, confident finalist from last year. Miguel bounced on his toes, eyed the stranger's lack of a belt, smirked as if he'd already won. The judge signaled. Miguel lashed out with a quick front kick, but Ethan didn't even flinch, just stood his ground, watched the kick miss. Miguel tried again. Jabs, hooks, a flurry meant to break this odd opponent's composure. Nothing. Ethan slid back, pivoted, let every strike fall short, never striking back, never chasing points. Then, when Miguel overreached, Ethan sidestepped at just the right moment, and Miguel tumbled off the mat, frustration playing on his face. Ethan bowed, returned to his seat, not a bead of sweat, not a hint of pride. He hadn't thrown a single strike. Some called it luck, others muttered about stalling, but a few in the room seasoned judges, old instructors watch him a little more closely now. The next match changed everything. Carter versus Tanaka. Kazuo Tanaka was a legend, three-time champion, a national competitor from Japan, all discipline and ruthless efficiency. The mood shifted. Everyone sensed it. Tanaka eyed Ethan's plain black shirt, military haircut. "You are tomb guard? You stand. You watch. You do not fight." He smirked before turning his back, certain the new guy was out of his depth. The crowd leaned in, some expecting a beatdown, others not so sure anymore. The judge called start. Kazuo surged forward, a masterclass of speed front kick, back fist, spinning hook. Ethan wasn't there. He slid aside, letting the attacks cut through empty air, not blocking, not countering, just moving exactly as much as he needed. Again and again, Kazuo pressed jabs, sweeps, leg kicks, each one just missing, each time Ethan's calm, never cracking. The room fell silent. This wasn't luck. This was something else. A few old martial artists whispered to each other, recognizing what others missed. It wasn't evasion. It was control. Kazuo grew angry, attacking harder, sweat starting to bead on his brow, rhythm faltering. Ethan remained steady, presence unbroken, like he'd seen every move before it happened. Frustrated, Kazuo let loose with a flying sidekick that should have ended it, but Ethan just dipped his weight and the champion landed hard, off balance. For the first time, Ethan stepped forward, closing the gap, not to strike, but to stand 5 feet from his opponent, hands low, head slightly bowed, a message clear as day. You've thrown everything, and I haven't even started. The match grew tense, every eye fixed on these two men. No points, no blows landed, yet somehow everyone knew who was in control. Kazuo's attacks grew desperate. At last, Ethan raised a hand, not to punch, but to tap lightly on Kazuo's exposed ribs, the gentlest reminder you were open, and I chose not to take advantage. Kazuo recoiled, shaken not by pain, but by the realization that he'd been outclassed without ever being touched. You mock me, he muttered, his face red. Ethan just watched, expression unchanged, waiting. Kazuo, drawing on every bit of his training, tried a judo takedown low, powerful, a move to end all debate. But Ethan didn't resist, didn't fight back, just redirected the force, guiding Kazuo's own momentum until the champion stumbled and crashed to the mat. The whole gym gasped. Even the judges froze, unsure of what they'd just witnessed. Kazuo sat up, stunned, sweat pouring down his face. He looked up at Ethan, his anger gone, replaced with a kind of awe. Ow! He whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Ethan offered his hand. Kazuo took it. For a moment, nobody clapped, nobody cheered. They all just watched, something deep and old moving in the silence. For the first time in his career, Kazuo bowed, low not to power, but to mastery. After the match, a tournament coordinator found Ethan. You're eligible for the finals, maybe even the title. Can we get a photo? Ethan shook his head. I didn't come for that. Then why? The man pressed, genuinely puzzled. Ethan glanced past the rows of chairs, out the window, and finally answered. To keep a promise. Long after the crowd had drifted out, Ethan sat by the edge of the mat, quiet, lost in memory. The coordinator came back, offered him a small gold trophy and a medal. You didn't stay for the ceremony, you won, Mr. Carter. The judges awarded the final to you by forfeit. Tanaka withdrew, said he had nothing left to prove. Ethan just nodded. I don't need a trophy. The man hesitated, then left the prizes on the bench beside him. When he was finally alone, Ethan explained just once, just enough. A boy I served with, he wanted to open a dojo in Utah after his service. He taught me kata between deployments, out in the desert. He didn't come home. I promised him if I ever got out, I'd do one match. Not to win, not to fight, but to honor what he believed. That strength doesn't always mean violence. That quiet isn't weakness. That being underestimated well, that's its own kind of freedom. Nearby, the man from Arlington, Mark Reynolds, watched the whole thing. He'd served, lost friends, seen plenty of men come and go. But what he saw today stuck with him. Ethan's victory wasn't about the fight, but about how little it took to win. Later, Mark shared the story online, not for fame, just for the few who'd understand. It never went viral. Didn't need to. A few weeks later, at a small dojo in Utah, students gathered for a quiet memorial. No ads, no fanfare, just a folded flag, a custom belt with 2 names, and a silent visitor who stood at the back, hands clasped, saying nothing. When he finally left, he paused at the mat, left behind no medal, no signature, only silence. Some warriors don't need a battlefield. Some, like Ethan Carter, just keep standing watch, even after the mission is done. So what do you think? Was Ethan right to refuse the spotlight and fight only for a promise? Or does a victory only count if it's seen and celebrated? Tell me, where do you stand on honor, legacy, and what real strength means? Let's talk about it in the comments.